CNN just raised some major questions about Donald Trump's sudden diagnosis. And could it be the White House is lying? Oh, the very idea. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. If you watch our channel, you will recall that earlier this week, I, like several others in the media, raised questions about bruising on Donald Trump's hands and some extreme swelling in his ankles, both of which were documented by photos. In a rare move responding to the media's scrutiny, presidential spokesperson and liar Barbie Caroline Leavitt announced that Trump had been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency, a condition that, in essence, means blood pools in his lower extremities. It is benign and common among senior citizens. Leavitt also repeated the claim that the bruises on Trump's hands are the result of vigorous handshaking of supporters and the use of aspirin. And if you don't believe that, you're not alone. The announcement by the White House has sparked wide discussion in the media because Leavitt claimed this is a recent diagnosis, though symptoms are visually documented going back as far as a year. Chronic venous insufficiency can also result from other more serious health conditions, which only further fueled speculation. And now, CNN has joined the conversation. And like me, and I'm guessing you, CNN has some serious doubts about this diagnosis. So have a look. Now, this is a long clip, so we want to get to it right away, and make sure to watch the whole thing. There's a lot in here to unpack.
150,000 people are diagnosed with this every year. The president received the diagnosis after he was examined for swelling in his legs. With us now, CNN medical analyst Dr. Jonathan Reiner. He's a professor of medicine and surgery at George Washington University. Doctor, always great to see you. So what is chronic venous insufficiency?
So good morning, John. Chronic venous insufficiency is essentially a problem that arises when the veins that bring blood back from the legs no longer work efficiently. And when blood pools in the legs because it's not traveling back to the heart in sort of a quick enough fashion, blood pools in those veins. And over a period of time, and with the aid of gravity, fluid seeps out of the blood and the veins into the surrounding tissues, and that causes swelling, or what we call edema. There are a lot of things that can cause that. Some of them are not so good, which is why the White House did this testing. But what's interesting to me about this diagnosis is that the president didn't have it 3 months ago when he had his annual physical exam with Dr. Sean Barbabella at the White House, where they documented that he had no edema. So, while they're calling this, chronic venous insufficiency, which it sounds like it is, it's really more of an acute presentation of that, which is why the White House did, a number of tests to make sure that this wasn't something more severe.
When you have, as you say, an acute presentation of this, something that wasn't detected just a few months ago but is now, what could be the cause of that? As someone who knows a little bit about hearts, Dr. Reiner, when and how can something like this, which is fairly common, when can this be a concern?
Right, because I focus on the heart when I see a patient who has a relatively new onset of edema in their legs. I first focus on, is this a cardiac problem? And the White House announced that the president did undergo a cardiac examination with an echocardiogram, which showed that there was no acute cardiac function. I'll note that Dr. Barbabella said that the president had a prior echo, earlier this year, but it sounds like they rechecked that to make sure there was no problem with cardiac function. The next thing you want to look at is make sure that the veins are not obstructed. And the president underwent an ultrasound test of his legs to rule out something like a clot or deep venous thrombosis. But apparently that is not the case. And then finally, importantly, there are metabolic problems such as chronic kidney disease that can result in severe edema, or liver problems that can result in sort of total body edema. And apparently the president has no finding of that. So the diagnosis of exclusion is chronic venous insufficiency, which then becomes more of an annoyance than a critical medical issue.
And the other thing that we heard from the White House was that the bruises on his hand and the discoloration, they say, may be caused from excessive handshaking and the use of aspirin. What do you make of that diagnosis?
Every one of my patients takes aspirin, and I'm a little bit more skeptical about the large bruising on his hand because he shakes a lot of hands, uh, unless he's having some sort of vigorous handshaking. That's a little bit more interesting to me. I see those bruises in people that take more powerful blood thinners than aspirin. Aspirin is a blood thinner, which is why we use it in cardiac patients. But I typically see bruising when people are on stronger blood thinners. So I'm a little bit skeptical of that explanation from the White House.
Listen, Dr. Jonathan Reiner, as I said, a guy who knows a little bit about hearts and some of the things we're talking about. Great to see you this morning. Appreciate your time as always.
So, Doc Reiner is feeling skeptical too. And his doubts aside, I ask you, who in their right mind would believe any of the bovine excrement spewed by Caroline Leavitt or this administration at this point? These aren't exactly credible people. And, as Dr. Reiner points out, it's odd that Trump would only now be diagnosed since the photos document these symptoms as far back as a year ago. So is there more to the story? Time will tell, though I direct you to the veins in Trump's neck. Notice how they bulge. So much so, it seems like his collars get higher and higher over time. That's not a symptom of chronic venous insufficiency. Coupled with the hand bruising and swollen ankles, it's a symptom of congestive heart failure, or possibly liver and kidney problems. In other words, this episode of ERDC Edition is not over yet. Expect a lot more to come. I'm David Reddish.